to my Pendulum Dowsing Masterclass. My name's Jan Taylor from Indigo Soul. Right, first of all then, before I begin, you need to make sure you're in the right place. This masterclass should take roughly around 30 to 40 minutes at a guess. So you don't want to sit and listen to me droning on if it's not the right class for you. So first of all, it's for you if you have never used a pendulum before. If you've used one but you're not quite sure whether you're doing it right, or if you've used one and you're not really sure whether you can trust it, whether you can trust your intuition that you're getting with it, or maybe you're confident using one but you really want to hear some hot tips on how to improve your accuracy with pendulum dowsing. Right, so what I'm going to cover then. First of all, I'm going to cover what is a pendulum, how to use your pendulum. Then I'm going to be going through a special offer for my crystal therapy course. Then I'm going to be giving you a demonstration of pendulum dowsing. And then finally, I'm going to be giving you some 8 hot tips. Okay, so first of all, a little bit about me in case you don't know anything about me. As I said, my name's Jan Taylor and I'm from Indigo Soul. I'm a mum of 2 daughters, 2 grown-up daughters in their early 20s, and I'm also very happily married. I'm a Reiki master and a crystal therapist, and also an intuitive business coach and a spiritual development coach. Prior to my business, Indigo Soul, I taught in a college for 14 years, mainly taught teenage boys, 16 to 19-year-olds, and I taught IT, information technology. I also coached and mentored staff within my role. And in terms of qualifications, I've got many qualifications, as you can imagine, most of them which aren't probably that relevant now, but I've got a postgraduate diploma in teaching. My passions are Reiki, crystals, coaching, teaching, and helping people go from stuck to magnificent. So, in other words, I've had a complete change of career from what I did before. Maybe not complete change because I'm still teaching, although now my teaching is all done online. But I absolutely love what I do now. Love it with a passion. Okay, that's enough about me. Right, so let's make a start then. What is a pendulum if you don't know already? A pendulum is a balanced weight suspended by a chain or a thread and is simply a means of visually checking what the unconscious mind already knows. The pendulum is an extension of our inner senses and is communication with your higher self. However, some people believe, as I do, that we also invite our guides and angels to help us with pendulum readings. Dowsing with a pendulum has been around for many years and is fixed in folklore as an old wives' tale. Many women tied their wedding ring onto a piece of thread and held it over their palm to determine the sex of their unborn child. In many cases, what the women were actually doing was using their sixth sense as a way of guiding their subconscious mind. Have you ever had a gut feeling that something was going to happen? Or have you ever known someone would be calling before the phone rang? These are all things that we call gut feelings, little voices or intuition. In a proper state of mind, we can access information that is not available to use through our conscious mind. Pendulum dowsing allows us to access and develop our intuition. First, you try to get to the state of relaxed concentration, and then by asking a carefully worded question, you open a channel of communication and receive the information that you seek. Your body amplifies that signal and displays it through dowsing tools and pendulums. Anyone can learn to dowse, but to become an expert in this field, you must practice, practice, practice. Once you learn the basics of pendulum dowsing, a whole new world opens up to you. You can dose food for allergic reactions, use your pendulum as a healing tool, use it to clarify situations or to put your mind at ease. Pendulums come in many shapes, sizes and materials. Once you find the special one for you, do not let anyone else use it or you will not become fully attuned to it. Some people like to own several pendulums and use them for different purposes, but it is not necessary. It is entirely personal preference. And it's very important to note that you cannot overdo the use of a pendulum. If you have any trouble with pendulum dowsing at any time, if your pendulum's not moving or sometimes it can just vibrate and it doesn't move properly, that's what it means. It just means that you are unbalanced. And I found this out during my crystal course actually that I did. I was doing pendulum dowsing before because my Reiki teacher had taught me pendulum dowsing. But I was really struggling to get it to work properly. It just didn't seem to be moving at all. And it was because I'd got blocks in my aura and in my chakras, which I hadn't picked up with Reiki healing. So if you have any problems, it usually means that you've got some block somewhere. And by having that crystal healing, it removed all those blocks and I was able to use my pendulum perfectly, to be honest, almost perfectly, and I haven't looked back since. Right, okay, so moving on, using your pendulum, you must always make sure that you cleanse your pendulum. This can be done in a number of ways, and I will show you this a bit later on in the demonstration, one of the ways that I use to clear my pendulum. It can be done using smoke, such as using incense or sage, or it can be done using sound, which is what I'm going to show you a bit later on. Those are just a few of the ways that you can do it. It's also important that you are grounded and balanced before you start to dowse with a pendulum. As I said, I was totally unbalanced when I started my crystal course. Couldn't understand why I couldn't get my pendulum to dowse properly, and it was because I was unbalanced and I got blocks in my aura and my chakras. So it is important that you are balanced. The pendulum represents an extension of your sixth sense, and in order to develop this skill fully for yourself, you need to be able to detach yourself from the situation, unlike when you are dowsing for another person where you have no emotional involvement. Okay, so it's important to ground and protect as well. Okay. A good way to make sure you are not influencing the pendulum in any way is to shout out loud in your thoughts, please give me an answer unbiased by my own conscious thoughts. Okay, this is something that I channeled intuitively actually, because I was struggling to know whether the answers I was getting were unbiased or not, because I was practicing on myself a lot. And when you're asking questions for yourself, you can be very biased about what you want the answer to be, or you can sway the results a bit yourself by your own thoughts. So by saying, I would like to do this pendulum dowsing unbiased by my conscious thoughts, then it makes sure that it works properly. Sorry, I forgot to mention as well, you need to connect with your pendulum first of all. So what I would do is welcome your guides and angels of 100% light. So I would say, I'd like to welcome my guides and angels of 100% light only to guide and protect me with my pendulum dowsing today for, and then you state the person's name 3 times. So it could be for myself, myself, myself. Okay? Then you ask the pendulum to show me your yes, and then show you your no. And then you test. Okay, so you could say something like, is my name Charlie? Okay, my name's not Charlie, so it's going to say no. Is my name Janet? My name's Janet, so it's going to say yes. And you can do lots of different tests in the tribe. when we're first starting out with pendulum, if someone's first having a go, we will ask something like, what's my middle name, and then give them 3 choices. That's a really good test to make sure that you've got the right answer. And you need to clear regularly. It's important that you clear your pendulum in between doing a reading for yourself or anyone else, and also clear it if you're just doing it regularly, if you're just doing them for yourself. Okay. Treat it like a proper reading, like you would do an angel card reading, really, and make sure that you're grounded and protected, you connect with your pendulum, you say I'm biased by my thoughts. You can do that at the beginning of the day and say, all of my pendulum dowsing today, please let it be unbiased by my thoughts. And if you're doing it for someone else, if you're quite close to them as well, you could say, or even if you're not close to them actually, you could say unbiased by mine and the other person's thoughts as well, because sometimes, particularly if you're talking to the person at the time or you've just been talking to them, you've connected to their energy, so you might pick up on the kind of answer that they want, they're looking for. So it's important to do that as well. Okay, right, in terms of responses, you need to make sure that you only ask yes/no questions, and that can be quite awkward to begin with. You have to be really specific, but it tends to come with practice, really knowing the right questions to ask. Okay, so that's basically a description of how to do it. Now I'm going to be going through a demonstration in a few moments, but first of all I want to tell you a little bit about my brand new crystal therapy course, and I absolutely love this course. This is based on what I learned on the course that I did myself, the crystal therapy course that I did myself, with probably a few little twists of my own that I've added as well. Okay, as I say, I absolutely love this course because I'm really passionate about Reiki. I would say probably Reiki and crystal therapy are on a par in terms as my passion goes, really. But crystal therapy has really made a massive difference to me. I can't tell you enough what a massive difference it's made to me. It's cleared blocks in my aura so quickly and so powerfully. I just couldn't believe it, to be honest. So that's why I've really wanted to do this course. It's been a long time in the making because I've had to do quite a bit of practicing crystal therapy myself to begin with, on myself and on others, and it's taken quite a while to write all the materials, but I'm so excited to be able to finally share it with you. So, who is the course for? It's for complete beginners. It's for people who have some experience of using crystals. It's for anyone that has done some form of other crystal therapy training or crystal training and wishes to learn this unique, powerful method. There is no other course like this online. The methods that I teach are completely unique to all the other methods on other online courses that I've seen. As I say, it's super powerful healing, and you can use it on yourself and on your friends and your family. You can also add it to your existing holistic business if you've got one. So it's really good to add to something like a Reiki business, for example, or if you do, I don't know, hypnotherapy or anything like that. But it could also enable you to set up a brand new holistic business if you haven't got one already. So after a set amount of practice time, when you feel ready, I will also tell you how to set up your own holistic business as well. You have to heal yourself as you go along. That's part of the course. as you go through each module, you'll be healing yourself first and foremost, and then have the chance to practice on friends and family. Right, so what's included? First of all then, module 1, I cover what is crystal therapy, working with crystals. That's all about how to cleanse your crystals and clear them properly, all about the Mohs system. So which crystals can be washed in water and which ones can't. All about the chakra system, that's in great detail, all about the chakra lifetime cycle, which a lot of people don't know about, which chakras you predominantly work through during each stage of your life cycle. Grounding and protection, how to ground and protect yourself properly. Pendulum dowsing, I'll cover again. Distance healing, how to do distance healing with crystals. How to do chakra balancing, so how to balance all your chakras with crystals, and then aura cleansing, so how to cleanse your aura. Without cleansing any blocks in the aura, it will continue to affect your chakras and cause blocks in your chakras. So it is very, very important to clear any blocks in the aura, and I'll teach you how to clear blocks in the aura in the present and also in the past, and this is super effective at helping you to move forwards. From a practical stance, for this module, you will work on 5 lines of your aura. So you'll work on yourself, you do the chakra balancing and the aura cleansing on yourself, and then you'll be able to practice on your friends and your family. Module 2, you'll learn how to space cleanse, so how to cleanse the space of a room, also how to space cleanse a complete building and the perimeter of the building as well. How to use a crystal wand, which is very powerful for healing pain in the physical body. How to do different crystal web layouts. Crystal web layouts are something that you can leave for a period of time in order to continue healing someone, and these are super powerful. You'll learn about lots of different web layouts to do things like balance, to deep heal, to increase heal, to increase confidence, many different things. And then you'll learn how to heal with crystal webs and how to do a couple of crystal webs on yourself and on others as well. And then you'll learn how to work with crystal points. Okay, again, you'll work on yourself at the end of this module and also be able to practice on friends and family. Module 3, you'll learn an in-depth guide to the meridian system. Now, the meridian system is what's used in acupuncture, except with this healing, you'll be learning how to use crystals to balance any meridian systems that are out of balance. And then you'll also be healing any meridians on yourself that are unbalanced. Again, you'll learn how to intuitively do this. Okay. As I said, it comes from the Eastern culture. So you'll be using crystals instead of needles, and it works on the belief that all illnesses in the body are caused by some kind of stress or trauma in our lives, and this can include past lives. And when a meridian is out of balance, it will reflect in symptoms that show up in the physical body, which can also affect muscles. Module 4, you'll learn all about crystal systems. Again, this is another method of healing, and you'll learn how to heal using crystal systems on yourself. You'll learn how to do dosing charts, how to make a gem elixir, so how to make an elixir using gems, water and gems, so that you can drink an elixir which will also heal you from within as well. All about the history of colour, how to create colour webs, and also how to construct intuitive webs as well. And then finally, star protectors, which is a way of adding extra protection to yourself and your aura. For this module, you'll learn how to heal any outdated systems in your body that are out of balance. As I said, the elixirs, colour, create colour webs. Again, you'll be doing the healing on yourself and then on friends and family. And then finally, module 5, you'll learn all about health and safety, emotional past release therapy. And this is a therapy that can be done to, you go back in time on a timeline and you heal the person from any trauma that they may have had in this life or even in a past life. So you can go back into past lives as well, and that's super, super effective. You learn how to remove any invasive energies. So if anyone has what we call a hook, which can be somebody has got a sort of hook on you, like a sort of psychic attack. Sometimes they don't even know they're doing it, but we learn how to remove those as well. And then I'll do a demonstration of a complete in-person treatment. Okay, so by the end of all this, you'll have learned how to do a complete distance treatment covering all of the different aspects of the healing. You'll take it all through and intuitively choose what the person needs, and then I'll show you how to do it on someone in person. It's very, very similar, but just so that you know what if there are any subtle differences. And then finally, in case you want to set up your own crystal therapy business or add it to your original holistic business, I'll be teaching you what you need to do in order to set one up. Okay, so that's it. So I haven't got any testimonials on the course because it's brand new. However, I've got some from people that have had some crystal healing and also that have done my other course, the Develop Your Intuition course. So here's one from the lovely Catherine, who had some healing from me about 4 weeks ago, I think, 4 to 6 weeks ago. I had been very poorly with exhaustion and had been feeling extremely lethargic for too long. I'm a mom of 3 young, energetic boys, and being ill is not an option. My crunch time came when I one day found out that I couldn't walk whilst on the school run. My legs simply wouldn't work. My body had just given up, exhausted and probably fed up of telling me to take things a little easy. A very scary experience and one I never wanted to go through again. I contacted Jan because I knew she would know what to do. After a little discussion, she recommended the crystal healing. I had never tried this before and had no idea what to expect, but I'm so very, very glad I did. Jan was fantastic. She worked her magic and I received an initial report on her findings and what she was going to do over the course of the next week. I simply then put it out of my mind and let Jan do what she's so good at. I would say within a few days I began to feel a lot better in myself, energetic and nearly back to my normal self. I hadn't felt like that for a long time. I have no idea what she did or how it works, but all I know is I feel 100 times better than I did and my belief in crystal healing has skyrocketed. Thanks, Jan. Amazing work, Catherine. And here's another one from Tiffany in New Jersey, is that, I think, in America. Jan did a course of crystal healing on me starting in February 2016. Since then, I've been travelling, I've received expected and unexpected financial abundance, and most importantly, her work was able to revive a gift I knew I had, but wasn't able to tap into: instant manifestation. Jan is a beautiful, loving and selfless soul, Tiffany. And then just a couple about my course. Cassie Farron, loving the course. My intuition is definitely stronger. This is for the Develop Your Intuition course. And then Judy, there was so much information in the class. It took me 3 sessions of listening to take it all in. Amazing information. Thank you. So, what else is included? You get a free clear quartz crystal cage complete with cord pouch, which is needed for the 5-line aura cleansing. You get support from me and other members in a private Facebook group. And you're also able to call in Reiki energy that I've programmed for the group. So energy such as to help you to protect yourself and to balance yourself. You get downloadable PDF files which you can keep forever. You get lifetime access to the course, so once you've paid for the course, it's yours to keep forever, and you can also learn at your own pace. It is actually a 5-month course, and that's because of the fact that you need to do your healing as you go along. So at the end of each module, you need to do some healing on yourself. You've got 4 weeks to do it in, but also you will need some time after the healing for the healing to continue to work and to finish doing its work before you move on to the next module and the next stage of healing on yourself. Okay, so that's why it's over 5 months as opposed to 5 weeks. Okay, and you will learn in depth how to do this crystal healing, which is super easy once you get the hang of it. Okay, right, so how much is it? At the moment on my website, this course is priced at £490. However, if you take action now, it's only £365. That's approximately $479. Or, to make it super affordable, you can pay in 10 instalments of £36.50. That's $48. Probably important to say here, once you have committed to do the course, you have to make the full 10 payments. But that's a saving there of £125. If this sounds like something you want to do, then you need to hurry, because the offer ends on the 1st of August 2016, which is officially when the course starts. However, once you hit that payment button to join, you will have access to module 1 and the Facebook group straight away. It's probably important to say that this offer is only available on this page. If you go to my website, as I say, it's on full price. So you need to really book it now, okay? Or make sure you bookmark the page and set yourself a reminder to come back before the 1st of August. Okay? And that's it. Right, okay, so now I'm going to give you a demo of how to do your pendulum dowsing, and then I'm going to come back after that and give you some 8 hot tips on how to make sure that your pendulum dowsing is more accurate. Okay, so over to the demo. So I'm just going to pull my screen down so you can see my pendulum lying on the table. Okay, and I'm going to show you how I clear. These are tin shards. These are what I use for clearing energy all the time. If you want to clear energy in a room, you can just walk around the room, various places, just let them clang together. If you get a sort of mismatch of sound like I did then, that means that the energy isn't clear. So then you need to use the tin jars until the energy clears. Okay, so that means that the energy isn't clear. If I was clearing a room, I would go definitely into all 4 corners and just intuitively use the tin jars where I think energy might need clearing. Okay, so that's a very good and quick way of clearing your room, as well as using burning sage. Okay, but to clear crystals and pendulums, the easiest way to do that is to hold them in your hands like this and then just bang them together. Just form a circle over the crystals or the pendulum, and the sound clears the energy. You only need to do it once, and that will have cleared that pendulum. Okay. Another thing you can do when you first get your pendulum is to hold it in the palm of your hand and ask it to be cleared of any energy that is not yours, any energy that does not serve your highest purpose at this time. But I would do the clearing with the tin jars as well. Okay. Right, so hold A lot of people wrap it round a finger, whichever finger feels more comfortable, but I just hold mine, to be honest. I find that more comfortable. And then you just you invite your guides and your angels of 100% light. I've already grounded, imagine I've already grounded and protected and cleared my own energy, okay? And then I'm going to say, show me my yes. I'm just going to pull the screen down again so you can see a bit better. So I'd hold it over my left palm, so I'm right-handed, and I'd say, show me yes. Well, you can see that properly, but my pendulum is swinging forwards and backwards. Okay. And then I would say, show me no. Show me no. I don't know whether you can see that very clearly. My pendulum is now spinning in an anti-clockwise circle. Okay. And that's my yes and no. Yours won't necessarily be the same, could be completely different. Okay. So you just say, show me yes, show me no, and then write it down. And your yes and your no will always be the same. So I automatically know now what my yes and my no is. So once you've done that, you establish that. It might take you a few times just to make sure, but once you establish that, then it will always be the same for yes or no. And then to test it, just ask a question. So I'm going to ask the pendulum, is my name Bert? And it's saying no, that's my no. Is my name Janet? And it's saying yes. And it's as simple as that. Okay, so I'll just go back to the slide, just do a quick recap for you. Okay, so on to my 8 hot tips then. First of all, you should always prepare properly beforehand, particularly when you're dosing for someone else. Make sure you centre, ground and balance yourself and clear your pendulum. Take your time, don't rush. As I've said before, treat it like a proper reading. And a good tip is to ask first if it is okay to ask the questions for the person. And always remember that it needs to be in fair exchange. And by fair exchange, I mean that with any form of energy work, and that includes pendulum dowsing as well, there should always be some form of fair exchange. Sometimes it can be just something simple like a testimonial, providing a testimonial for someone, or it can be that they're doing one for you in return, or an angel card reading for you in return, or it can just be something even more simple, such as just a hug. Even a hug is a form of exchange, or it can mean money as well, you know, if you're charging for your services. But you can dose to ask that too. So if you're a bit unsure as to whether you should dose for someone and whether it's in fair exchange, you can ask that as well. Number 2, state your intent. So as I've said before, always state unbiased by my thoughts, and if it's for someone else, unbiased by mine and the other person's thoughts before you start dosing. This will ensure that your answers aren't biased by your own or anyone else's conscious thoughts. Always be really specific with your questions and keep them as simple as possible. Always ensure that they can be answered with a yes/no answer. You can also ask for numbers as well, such as how many questions am I allowed to ask for this person today? Or you can ask for each number and then look to see what response you get. For instance, if you wanted to dose to see how many cards you should draw for a person, you could say 1, 2, 3, and keep going till you get yes. Number 4, you should never dowse about a third party. If in doubt, always ask if it's okay to dowse on that question first, and if it's okay to dowse about that particular person. Be really careful about how you phrase your question. So, for example, if you said, "Can I ask?" that's always going to give a yes, because yes, you can ask that question, but maybe you shouldn't ask it. So always say, "Should I ask about this person?" or "Is it okay to ask about this person?" are the correct ways to phrase it. For example, say if someone had just met someone and they wanted to know if this person was, or I don't know, seeing someone else, say for example, and they asked you to ask that question. Now, really and truly, that wouldn't be a question that you would be able to ask, that you should ask, because that's a question about a third party, another person, that's separate to the person that's asking for the pendulum dowsing and the person that's doing it. Okay, you could, however, ask something like, is it can she trust this person? So you could say, could this person trust this other person that she just started seeing? You could ask that question. That would be perfectly fine. Or you could ask something like, is this person's soulmate? That's okay to ask, but you can't, as I say, ask any questions about that third person, because it's really not the done thing. Okay, number 5. You need to check regularly. Always remember that the future can change. So what you might get a yes to, say, this week, you might get a no to next week, because you do change your own destiny. Okay, so it's important to check every now and again if you're unsure, and important to stress that to anyone else that you're dowsing for. Number 6, don't diagnose. It's not good practice to diagnose illness with your pendulum. You can dose to see if someone needs to go to see a doctor, but you really should not diagnose for them, because that can be very dangerous. You can dose for a chakra imbalance, to ask if one of the chakras are imbalanced, or to check what kind of holistic healing someone might need, but you should not diagnose if there's anything wrong with them. And if in doubt, it's always good to ask if they need to see a doctor as well. Be careful with time, number 7. You cannot predict an accurate time period. As I always say, there's no concept of time with the divine, or them upstairs as I like to call them. When you are doing any kind of readings, you can be given some kind of indicator of when something's going to happen, but in terms of timings, because there's no concept of time, it's really difficult to predict. You can ask if it will, say for instance, be before Christmas or in the spring, for example, but just bear in mind that timing predictions are not perfect, and stress that to the person that you're dowsing for. As I say, you can get an idea, but it's not set in control. It's not set in stone, sorry, as the future is out of your control. If it was, then there wouldn't be any free will. Also, you can't ask about weeks or months very effectively, because there's no concept of that either. You need to ask in terms of days, as it can be better predicted due to how many times the sun sets. So, for an example, when I'm doing crystal healing, I will ask how many days to leave a web balancing for. Okay, and I ask in days rather than in weeks, although it does tend to be days rather than weeks. or how long to leave it before someone needs another healing session, for instance. That's best to be done in days as well. And then the final tip, be careful with finances as well. You shouldn't try and predict anything about finances, as again, this can be out of your control if other people are involved. You can dose to see what goal you should set or what you should charge for a service, for example, but it's not a good idea to try and predict how much you will make, because again, that's out of your hands as someone else, other people involved. And also, if someone asks you something like a financial question, again, it's a bit awkward really to predict that for them, because it may not come true. Okay, there may be something stopping them. Okay, the more you work with your pendulum then, the more confident you'll become. Again, if you get stuck, if your pendulum's not moving, it means that you're out of balance and you need some kind of healing to balance you again. But the more and more you use it, the more you practice, the better you become, and the more you realise the kind of questions you can ask and the kind of questions you can't ask. So just practice, practice, practice. Okay? Happy pendulum dowsing. And if you've got any questions, please feel free to email me on jan@indigosoul.co.uk. That's jan@indigosoul.co.uk, or message me on my page. Okay, thank you for listening. I hope you've enjoyed this masterclass. Bye for now.